We're back and I've got our pot ready for our grits. I've got water in here, but I've also got a secret ingredient that the grits box won't tell you about, and that's milk. And I'm going to add a little salt because every Southerner knows that if you don't salt your grits at the very beginning of cooking, you'll never get them salty. And the next tip I want to share with you on grit cooking is never stop stirring until every one of those grits is wet and thoroughly mixed in. Because if I had just dumped those grits in that pot and turned around to my sink to do something, when I turned back around, I would have big knots of grits. And once your grits knot up, you can't hardly get them out. Now in the South, we never use an instant grit. We use the quick cooking kind that says cooks in 5 minutes. The only trick there is we don't cook them for 5 minutes. We cook them anywhere from 25 to 30 to 45 minutes. Now this is coming back to a boil. I'm going to cut those down to the lowest heat, and I'm not going to get too far from my grit pot. In the meantime, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start our country ham. Now I'm working with a whole country ham today, but in the grocery store you'll find these little babies already sliced very thin and cryovac for you, so you can buy 1 or 2 servings at the time. And I'm going to start by cutting off just a little bit of fat, and I'm going to bring it over to my skillet. And I'm starting with a hot, clean skillet. There's no oil or anything in this. This piece of fat will just grease up our pan nicely so that when our slices are added to it, it won't stick very badly. But you can see my skillet is nice and hot. You can see that fat just smoking in that skillet. Look at that beautiful ham. And we're just going to kind of keep them moving for a minute until they get going. While these are getting nice and hot and beginning to cook, I'm going to move over here to our grit pot and see how they're doing. I'm going to need to add water to these because you can see how thick they've gotten in just a short time. So I'm slowly going to add some more water. You should add hot water to these as you need them. Down south, you know, we argue among ourselves over the proper way to eat grits. You'll have some people that like what they call a fork grit. And what that means is when they put their fork in their grits, they're so thick their fork will stand up. And look at our ham. It's just getting a nice little crispy crust on it. And we're far enough along with our grits now, I'm going to add a little butter to them, and that'll help make them even more creamy when we're ready to serve them. Grits come from ground corn. It looks very, very much like cream of wheat, but it has a totally different flavor. And a lot of people that are not from the South that eat them for the first time tell me that it reminds them of polenta, which polenta is ground corn also. And I'm going to stick our little piece of fat back into our pan along with our ham to just keep it good and greased. And our ham's coming along nicely. As you can see, it's getting little beautiful little brown spots on it. Down south, we wouldn't dream of having country ham in the morning without red-eye gravy. And actually, it's not really a gravy at all. It's coffee mixed with the brown sediments that have come out of the ham while you're cooking. And it's a very thin gravy, and you just pour it over your grits, and it just kind of goes everywhere all over your plate. And those are almost done, so I'm going to stick in another piece. I think I'm going to reach down here and get one of these nice thin slices. I really do like my country ham sliced thin. And when you're cooking with cast iron, you have to really be careful because once these bad boys are hot, they're hot as a firecracker. All right, I'm ready to take our country ham up. And you know, we argue about this down in the South. Some people like their ham kind of soft and tender, and some people like theirs crispy. So if you want it crispy, you would cook it in a skillet that's a little hotter. If you like it soft and more of a light brown color, then you would cook it in a slower skillet. But isn't that beautiful? All right, now our skillet is good and hot, and all I'm going to do at this point is add some good strong coffee to it. Isn't that amazing that something so good can be so simple? All right, I had turned my fire down. Now I'm going to turn it back up. And I'm gonna just let that boil away for just a minute or two. Look at that rich brown sauce that's gonna go over those hot, buttery, boiling grits. You know, I think this red eye gravy needs two more little things. I think it needs a little pat of butter and a little beef bouillon, and it'll be just perfect. Our grits are just perfect. You know, I was telling you a while ago while I was cooking them how we argue about fork grits, spoon grits. These are almost in the middle. And even though I've added butter to the pot while I was cooking them, I'm still going to put me a little bit more butter to go on top of them along with this red eye gravy. How good does that look on a cold morning? Oh, it's truly out of this world.
Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.